Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. This is the third video I'm doing today. I felt like doing this video because just kind of a series, a short series, of course, all three in one day. I don't know when I'm going to post these, but this is about me being a Christian back in the day. And just a little, it's kind of weird because I was a Satanist, I was a communist. I'm just sort of saying that I was a Satan. I mean, I wasn't like full on in any of these 100%, but it was like flirtations with these ideologies and beliefs. So I was a Christian for a long time, as far as Christian. And I watched the 700 Club with Pat Robertson. Now that was sort of half tongue in cheek, but there were times where I was influenced by it subconsciously, I believe. So I'm going to try to make this a little shorter than my other videos about this because it's just like, I don't know, I want to get straight to the point. So growing up, I had a lot of different influences, a lot of like kind of new age influences, agnostic influences. Some grandparents were more into this or that. And I had kind of a new age Christian grandmother as well. So talked about, a little bit about Jesus and all this stuff. And I kind of, it rubbed off on me to some extent. And of course, she was into like Eastern stuff too. So I was sort of a pluralistic Christian at one point. And then what happened was, I had a lot of, I had some childhood trauma and stuff, and it just like, I started praying and stuff and like believing in sort of the biblical things a little bit, and then I got into Nostradamus when I was a kid, and I thought the Nostradamus was like a Christian or a Catholic, one of the two. I believe he was Catholic, but I can't remember exactly. I haven't read about Nostradamus in years. And that kind of tied with the Book of Revelation, the number of the beast, and all this stuff. And I never thought like heavy metal bands were summoning the devil or anything like that. But there was a time when I was a teenager where I kind of got more, my mental health problems at the time kind of flared up even, more than usual in like mid-adolescence. So I kind of got into this thing where my anxiety disorders and stuff got really bad. And I was actually had like some agoraphobia where I wouldn't go places and stuff, which I still have some of that too, even though, well, not locally, but like just like traveling and stuff more so now. But because I like to go out to bars and stuff a lot. You can't have to wear a mask at a bar right now, so whatever. I'll drive to Janesville or somewhere else. But anyways, so the whole thing was I kind of fell back into this like sort of quasi-Christian, sort of semi-Christian state of mind where it was like, it wasn't necessarily Jesus, but it was God, but it was like related. Jesus was like part of it, sort of, but like not as much. It was more just like biblical kind of this belief in this God thing. And it got weird because I think I have some OCD, that having satanic metal, this is where it got its worst. I was 15 years old. It was like having satanic metal would influence me to murder or commit suicide. I was like, oh my God, if I have this Misfits album, I'm gonna start cutting the heads off of little girls and putting them on my wall. I'm gonna turn into a Martian. No. Anyways, I'm just referencing the different Misfits lyrics. And I was like, this is gonna influence me badly. So, and then Black Flag too, because I was really into Black Flag. I was like, oh, this is all negative stuff. I gotta get rid of all my negative things in my life. So I took all the albums and I put them in a paper bag, and put them on the curb. All these records, tapes, and vinyl, which might be some of them, like the Sam Hain November Coming Fire, probably worth about $50 on eBay. All these albums would probably be worth something. And I was just like, oh, I gotta get rid of all this stuff. Oh my God, this is terrible. Oh, can't listen to that stuff. But the irony was, if I listened to it, it wouldn't influence me. It was thinking about it influencing me, which would make me think that I was getting scared of doing that. It was like the fear of the fear of the fear, which was influencing me. So at this point, it was like, I wasn't really a super Christian, but I believed like ultimately like the whole way of Christianity was the best way and all this stuff, and like in my head and all this shit. So that kind of lasted for a little while. The irony is I probably should have thrown away Pink Floyd The Wall on video cassette, because I would watch that every day for a while, sophomore year of high school, where I was super depressed. and it didn't make things any better. I should have kept Sam Hain and threw away Pink Floyd, but I have owned both now, so who gives a shit? But you know, it was a weird time. It was a really weird time for me. So eventually, I came to my senses. My friend was into satanic death metal and stuff at the time, and you know, he got more into it. I was like, oh yeah, some of it's okay. I wasn't as scared anymore. And I think I eventually bought another Misfits album, and then I started rebuying them eventually, and you know, just all these gory metal or punk albums, you know, or whatever. I rebought them all. That was around the time I got that Merciful Fate CD, which probably, I think if it's in the order of the videos that I'm doing, will be the previous video. And I was kind of borderline at that point. I was like still sort of like scared of satanic metal and stuff, but like it's really hard to explain this thing because I wasn't like a Bible thumping person, but I was like sort of like leaning towards this like sort of new age Christianity with negative energy, positive energy, and just all this stuff. It's like, and I didn't, you know, I was scared of satanic stuff. I was like, satanic stuff's a bad influence on me, you know, it'd be a bad influence. So I finally just said, eventually I was like a little more passive about it. It was like, I wasn't like dead set against like listening to satanic metal. This is like around the time when I did throw away that Merciful Fate album. And I sort of was like, well, you know, people, it's not a big deal, but I'm just not gonna try to listen to stuff like that. I like grindcore, not death metal. This is part of the time. It's like, I don't like death metal. I like grindcore, like Napalm Death and Carcass. Like, I try to like differentiate, even though most of their stuff, like latter day stuff, was death metal. So because I don't listen to like Deicide and that satanic stuff, you know. This is like, but the irony, there was this death metal cover band that played at this youth club in where I live. They played exclusively Deicide and Morbid Angel covers. And secretly, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. The mosh pit got really crazy, but I loved it. I absolutely loved the band. I would go with my friend to see this band all the time. Before my other friend that I talked about in the previous video about Satanism. This is a different friend. But I secretly loved it, and I think I had it, you know, I had like a dub of one of the Morbid Angel albums or something at the time, and I didn't throw that away. I don't think I threw that away. I think this might be a little bit later than when I threw away all this stuff, even though that Merciful Fate thing was later too. But I was like, oh, I just loved it. I thought it was great, and it was like this closet thing for me. Like, I really loved this satanic death metal. It's just so great. I just loved it. I thought the band was fucking awesome. These Deicide and Morbid Angel songs sounded so cool, but finally, you know, in the late 90s, I just said I don't give a fuck anymore. I like what I like, you know, in mid to late 90s. I'm gonna listen to metal, I'm gonna listen to satanic metal, I'm listening to stuff about killing people, or, you know, it's not gonna make me kill anybody, you know, any more than it's gonna, you know, turn me into a Martian, you know, Night of Living Dead thing, or any of the Misfits lyrics or whatever, you know. I mean, it's all fantasy. It's not making me feel this way, violent or whatever. That's not, when I listen to metal, it doesn't make me feel violent. In fact, when I'm more violent, I feel less, you know, apt to listen to metal. You know, I just want to punch things. I don't want to, like, or, you know, whatever. I don't feel like that. It doesn't. It takes out aggression too. You know, like I did my Bone Crusher song. I felt like a catharsis doing the lyrics. It was so violent and disgusting and satanic. Like, it's on purpose. My Bone Crusher songs. Like, I don't give a shit. You know, it released something in me. So yeah, I don't think my Christianity, and I had the Bible and stuff, but I didn't really read it that much. I was just more of like a New Age Christian, like sort of a loosely pluralistic, you know, Christian or whatever. But I didn't really believe in, and I believe other religions might be the correct way to God or whatever too. So I wasn't like a super Bible thumping Christian, but I was definitely more of a New Age, sort of loosely New Age Christian. Believed in Nostradamus and the Antichrist would come and all this stuff. You know, I would like millennial, whatever, I forgot that word, you know, the type of Christianity where they believed in the end of the world and stuff for a while, like when I was, you know, back in my early teens. And but I got out of it, and then I found Satanism, which totally blew everything away, because a lot of stuff, they point out the hypocrisy and contradictions and the lies and all this stuff about Christianity, I was like, wait, this doesn't make any sense anymore, you know? And that's when I kind of popped my bubble, so to speak, of, you know, the Christianity thing for good. But I still have some Christian, like, I have that side. I see the sides of yourself. I have the satanic side, I have the communist socialist side, I have the anarchist, libertarian, fucking anti-establishment, almost Republican side, and I have the Christian side, you know, just these various sides. And, you know, like my project, Pathless Land, is probably closer to Christian in a loose term, you know, it's positive thinking and all this shit, right about. And then Bone Crusher is satanic, brutal, proto-death black metal from the mid 80s, even though it's not from the mid 80s. But I explained that in another video. I'll explain that in another video sometime about all my musical projects. But anyways, yeah, I was a Christian, sort of, kind of, maybe. And I watched the 700 Club, and more about that before I go. The 700 Club was on CBN, and I just watched it. It was entertainment. It was partly entertainment because I was just like, it's just interesting, like, facet of life that I hadn't explored because I didn't grow up like as a Christian. I grew up in this like very pluralistic household and open-minded liberal area, you know. So seeing this whole thing was just fascinating to me, and they would talk about all this stuff. Pat Robertson would be patronizing towards his black co-host and say all this stuff, and they, you know, and ironically, it was more, you know, Pat Robertson was more forgiving of transgendered people than people that are gay and stuff. Weird things with Pat Robertson. And I had these books that were, you know, debunking Pat Robertson too, that I bought, you know, a little bit later too. But like, I would watch it. They would talk about satanic heavy metal band, you know, they would say heavy metal satanic, rock satanic, or, you know, the Satanic Panic stuff, basically. Dungeons and Dragons, they would send out these pamphlets, and I watched it, and all the prayers and like the, you know, the word of knowledge and all this stuff, and I just was fascinated by it. But maybe it did creep in there a little bit, as I said before, you know, it was kind of more subconscious influence on me with throwing away all my records and tapes that had any kind of satanic. I didn't throw away like Danzig though. Wait, at first I think I did throw away Danzig, or I don't know if I threw away Danzig or I just threw away Misfits and Samhain, but I was just like, because earlier on when I wasn't throwing away all that stuff, I was like, Danzig's not a Satanist. He just talks about these different sides and he explores these different things. But then, you know, I don't remember if I threw away Danzig the band. I don't remember if I did. But at one point I kind of rationalized, like, I don't like Slayer because they're satanic, but I like Danzig because he's more like esoteric. You know, wrote this essay for English or whatever about how Danzig is whatever. I fucking don't remember. It's just all this stuff. So it's just all these weird rationalizations and excuses. I like grindcore, not death metal, because that's satanic and bad. You know, it's just all these stupid fucking teenage, like, weird rationalizations and excuses. I don't give a fuck. I'll listen to the most satanic, brutal death metal. I don't like gore grind that much, other than Carcass. Like, so there was one band I did like live that I saw and I sort of checked out, but I don't like all this gore and serial killer worship amongst the death metal people. Like, you know, we have serial killer trading cards. Oh, great. Even though I listen to Morbid, which is a podcast about, you know, murder and stuff, but, you know, I listen to a little true crime stuff. I try not to get too deep into that, but, you know, some of these people, like these metal fests and stuff, we love Faces of Death Volume 5. Oh, it's so great. You know, I'll never be into that shit. I'm just like, I just don't like it. You know, it's just I'm fascinated by cults, though. That's the weird thing, is like, I'm fascinated by cults. But it's just not my forte. I'm just not into like serial killers and all that shit that death metal heads got into, like the mid 90s and stuff. And they used to have these booths in Metal Fest. You know, it's just like, oh my god, yeah, it's a fucking serial killer. This one is an interview with Jeffrey Dahmer from right before he got killed in prison. Oh, this tape, oh, it has all this stuff. Oh my god, brutal death metal, man. You know, I don't like that stuff. You know, power metal probably appealed to my sort of Christian side, you know, with all the positive thinking. You know, I write these songs, you know, about believe again and like let the legends be true and all this shit. You know, it's probably more Christian than anything. Even if it doesn't talk about Jesus, it's like more Christian. You know, it's like, so I don't know. I never liked that side. I like Tales from the Thousand Lakes. You know, I did like you know, I loved the early Carcass stuff. I know it's Amorphous and Carcass are two different bands, of course, But like the early Carcass stuff, where it was just so over the top and so medically, it would have all these medical terms throughout the song. I just thought it was hilarious. Still do, you know. I love the early Carcass and stuff. But I don't like, I don't like all the serial killer worship stuff. Like maybe a little bit like the band Macabre. I'm just like, oh yeah, the newest album was about Elliot Rodger or something. I'm just saying, it probably wouldn't be, but I'm just saying, you know, all these different albums about all these serial killers. I'm just like, it just doesn't really do anything for me, and I'm just like not into it. But it doesn't mean that's like gonna shudder at it or like be fucking like, you know, think it should be banned or think that people that listen to that stuff are terrible people or possible killers or something like that. You know, for the most part, they're not. I'm just saying, like, it just doesn't appeal to me, and it never did. Arms are hurting from the TRX machine yesterday. Oh my god. So no, I'm not into you know, super gory, brutal death metal. I'm like a lot of different kinds of metal. I'm not scared of satanic stuff anymore. In fact, I mean, it's been I would probably rather, I mean, I would probably be less scared of a satanic band than some, you know, Christian bands at times, honestly. But you know, it's just like, yeah, I have a certain way of thinking of things, and you know, I'll listen to stuff, but you know, it's just not, I just don't take it like I thought I would. I don't think that you're influenced by lyrics as much as the feel of music necessarily, even, you know, or the, you know, and sometimes it's just like energy's derived from both the plus and negatives, as Metallica said, right? It's like you'll listen to a metal band and be like, it's so dark and depressing, but you're like, oh, it sounds so good, you know, and get in a good mood as a result of that. Another person might listen to it and be like, oh, turn it off, you know. That's just the way metal operates on people's. It's like spicy food. It's like someone could take a fucking, like, the hottest tortilla chip, you know, or potato chip or whatever. Oh, this is so good. And another person will want to fucking, like, you know, douse their, you know, jump in a swimming pool for 10 hours, you know, or something like from it or whatever. It's just a, you know, it's all a matter of whatever, you know, floats our boat or tickles our fancy or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that was partly because I was a Christian, you know, that I threw away all those tapes and stuff, and I rebought all of them. Bought the Sam Hain box set in the late 90s, you know, and I'm really happy that I own that, because it's like worth some money now. You know, I really felt bad that I threw away all that stuff, but it is what it is. And even right after, I felt bad pretty much. I mean, I put it on the curb, and someone took it. Someone's rich now from all those old Sam Hain albums that are out of print and stuff or whatever, you know. It's just it's one of those things. But like, yeah, I think everybody has these sides to them. I think at different sides to them at different times, and I will openly admit and explore these sides and say that I have this side. That's why this new project I'm doing, I think I'll be doing more songs, because I think it's cool to have different sides to yourself that you have. People are all, you know, it's kind of like, it's almost like the woke thing, like, I'm gender fluid, it depends on the minute, it depends on the hour. Well, you know, there's actually some case in a sort of a way to have different types of ideas like that, where things are more fluid. I don't agree with necessarily that idea, particularly in that instance, 100%, but I think there is some argument to have more fluidity in life, more flow, you know, of different types of moods and ideas that you have, and more, you know, when it comes to art, or it comes to, you know, music, whatever, or ideas, philosophical ideas, political ideas. I mean, people might be like, unnerved by the whole idea that I went from this Bernie supporter 2 years ago to totally being against like COVID restrictions. People are probably like, what? You know, people think it's propaganda, but it's the way that, you know, I look at things. I do research and statistics. You're supposed to listen to the experts. No, I listen to myself. I research the experts. I read what they say. But people might be like, what? That doesn't make sense. 2 years ago, you were a Bernie Sanders worshiper. Well, what are you saying now? No, I look at different things. And I'm not saying I'm against all of the restrictions, by the way. most restrictions I think are counterproductive or are making the problem worse. In my Vietnam video, the previous video that I did, this is my opinion. This is my opinion from what I've studied. You know, you get these graphs where there's a mandate and then it still spikes, you know, in the graph, you know, in the guitar cases, I'll just say, guitar cases still spike. I have to add those code words, you know. So guitar cases still spike, you know, or deaths still spike even after some mandate and compliance is super high. Doesn't make any sense, but it does, because that is an endless, unwinnable war, in my opinion. So and with the withdrawal date, the whole fall of Saigon is going to happen when we, about 10%. Okay, when it becomes endemic. But anyways, I'm talking about that shit again, and I don't want to for the next month or so. I'm going to try not to. So yeah, I was Christian. I'm not a Christian now, but I have some identifiable things. Course in Miracles I still like a lot, especially the audio version that I obtained a few years ago. I like some of those ideas. I like the idea of listening to something every day. It really influenced me in 2010, 2011, Course in Miracles. I think I manifested a lot of good stuff in 2011 because of listening to that, honestly. Like, that's my belief, you know, and that's Christian, you know, sort of pseudo-Christian, New Age, whatever you want to call it, and I still like it. I still like it a lot, but I still love the Satanic Bible and, like, you know, talking about all this stuff, and I love Anton LaVey. What am I? I don't know. I'm a multitude of things, like Walt Whitman said. Another Gemini, by the way. Not that, I don't even know if astrology is true. Speaking of astrology, well, I'm going all over the place in this video. I might do a live stream, actually. Speaking of, well, that totally says you're such an air sign. You're just jump from one topic to another, Matt. You're proving astrology right. Well, I don't know if astrology is real, but the good news, like I did in my previous video, December 28th, Jupiter goes back into Pisces. So all these surges and all this shit going on, oh, it could end. It could end. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, that looks like it might be the end, because that's for 6 fucking months or 5 months or something that we're going to be in. Jupiter's going to be in Pisces, and they announced the end of the mask mandate for, you know, jabba dude people on May 14th or 15th of 2021. The day that Jupiter entered Pisces, or the day after or before. It's one of those things. And then when they said they brought back the mask shit was the day that it entered Aquarius again. So, and when it entered Aquarius is when they did the announcement for the Jabba Dabba Doo was, you know, coming out in December of last year. Really interesting stuff, huh? Also, crypto. By means, this is not any financial advice, by the way. I am not a financial expert, so take this with a grain of salt. But when crypto went up was when Jupiter was in Aquarius. So, just saying, this astrological shit is a coincidence. Maybe it probably is, but it's fun to explore that idea. You know, you explore these different ideas and you have these different beliefs and stuff. It's fun. Why be limited by one belief? You know, I think Ross Jeffries said that once in his Magic and Psychic Influence seminar, which is one of the most influential things in my life, by the way. Yeah, I know people think, oh my God, a pickup artist douchebag guy influenced this guy. No, it was one of the most influential things in my life. I try tracking it down if you can somehow, you know, whatever, however you can do that. I don't even know if he sells the original 2001 one that he released, but it was one of the biggest influences in my life. I'm probably going to watch it again. Watch it every few years, and my life gets better as a result, because I'm just like doing, you know, following these beliefs and these ideas. But why, anyways, he talks about why subscribe. And that's part of the chaos magic thing too, because chaos magic is about exploring different beliefs, assuming a position just to kind of look at things in a different way. So yeah, why be stuck in one label or one belief? That's one of the things about modern society that is so shitty, is that you have to be these labels and classifications, and like, you're this, you're that, you know. It's like it's fucking limiting as hell. And it's ironic because a lot of the people, like the woke crowd, will be about having more, like I said previously, more fluid beliefs in things, like more fluid beliefs in gender or sexuality or whatever. But when it comes to just general beliefs in general, let's apply that to everything. Why not apply that to everything? Because I think that's a very useful way of doing magic, you know, if dare I say. Now I'm going into occult stuff, that's fine. But anyways, there might be more stuff about that in the future too. But anyways, I'm running out of things to say and I have other things to do, so that's about all.